Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Yellowhammer Outdoors. Today, we're going to be talking about how to set up your AR-15 for deer hunting. Now, if you follow current YouTube trends and you have, set up your rifle based on what many common tactical AR-15 YouTubers tell you to do, you probably have a carbine set up like this. 14.5-inch barrel, pin and welded muzzle device, stock on here, a low power variable optic. You probably got some kind of light on here, backup sights, the whole 9 yards, and you probably like to run a full 30 round magazine in this and just, run around and be super tactical and, shoot at dirt and try and look cool with it, right? And you're now thinking, hey, maybe I can take this out and kill some deer with it. So, you're thinking, I'm going to take my carbine and I'm going to shoot a deer in the face and, it's going to be super cool. Well, I'm here to tell you, if this is what you have and you want to deer hunt with it, sell it and get you a bolt action. All jokes aside, this is not good for deer hunting. This is a great rifle for home defense, for room clearing, those types of tactical activities. But if you want to deer hunt with your AR-15, you really should consider getting a different upper for this. One of the things that makes the AR-15 so popular is the fact that it is highly customizable. You can have one lower and you can run several different uppers on this in many, many different calibers. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to take your carbine and how to build out an upper and set it up to where you can be a successful deer or hog hunter with your AR-15. So first we're going to look at what kind of options you have in a 223. So as you can see, this is the same lower that I just had that carbine set up on, but we now have a 20-inch barrel. We also have a low power variable optic. This is a 1:8 by 24 first focal plane from Primary Arms. And we also have a offset mount with a Delta Point Pro on this. As far as deer hunting goes, many deer are taken with a 223 each year. So there's a lot of people out there that say a 223 is not powerful enough to take deer, but many people do it every year. It's really about shot placement and knowing the limits of the round that you're shooting. I would not take a 223 further than 100, 150 yards because that's what I think the limit is on this round. To kind of put that into perspective, I'm going to show you a 62 grain 223 versus a 308, which is also one of the most common rounds out there. So this right here is a 62 grain 223. This is a 165 grain 308 bullet. So you can see there is quite a size difference in this, not only in the diameter, but also in the mass that this takes. So if you're shooting a 223 at 3,000 feet per second and you're shooting a 308 at 2,800 feet per second, then the 308 is going to have a lot more energy than this does, especially the further out that you go. So if you choose to hunt with a 223, make sure you know the limits of your round, shoot it through a chronograph, and look at your energy levels. What they recommend is at least 850 foot-pounds of energy to, responsibly take down game. When I use shooterscalculator.com, and I will put in all of my information on there, and it will tell me what the energy is at different ranges. I like to keep stuff at about 1,000 foot-pounds of energy or greater when I'm deer or hog hunting. So just, do the calculations, make sure that you know what the limits of your round are. All of that being said, I don't really like to hunt with a 223 because I think there are much better options that fit within the AR-15 platform. You have 6.8 SPC, You have 300 Blackout, 6.5 Grendel, 277 Wolverine. You have a lot of different options that fit within the AR-15 platform. A lot of them have been standardized, and there are also a ton of Wildcat rounds that you can shoot through the AR-15. My personal favorite is the 6.5 Grendel. So next, what I'm going to show you is my 6.5 Grendel setup. All right, guys, so here we have a 6.5 Grendel. This has a 20-inch barrel. It has a reared end muzzle device on here. And once again, we're running a primary arms first focal plane scope on here. This is a 4-14 by 44. As you can see, this has a scope designed to be for longer range. That is because the 6.5 Grendel carries a lot more energy than the 223 does at a longer range. I consider the 6.5 Grendel to be good out to 300 to 400 yards depending on what you're shooting at. So that pretty much doubles the range that you have with a 223. So now let's take a look at a 6.5 bullet versus a 223 versus a 308 again. So first, let's look at the 223 versus a 6.5. Once again here, you can see that there is a big difference. There's a big difference in the diameter, and there's a big difference in the mass that the 6.5 carries compared to the 223. This is a 62 grain, this is 123 grain. This is almost exactly double what this is as far as weight goes, and much larger in diameter. Compare that to a 308, and the difference, you can see that the 308 is bigger in diameter and a little bit larger. This is 165 grain 308, 123 grain 6.5, larger diameter, but really the mass, is more comparable compared to the 223. So, when you look at an AR-15 versus a AR-10 or bolt action, what you're looking at is you have to fit that within the magazine length requirements to fit within the magazine well. For me, the 6.5 Grendel is the perfect compromise for that shorter round versus the energy that you get. You're still getting anywhere from 2,500 to 2,600 feet per second, depending on what grain bullet you shoot. You can go as low as 90, 95 grains and up to about 130 grains according to the Alexander Arms load data. So you have a lot of flexibility as far as varmint versus hog and deer hunting with a 6.5 Grendel. On my 6.5 Grendel, I am running a Geisley handguard. The reason I went with the MK18 Geisley is because this has the ARCA mount on the bottom. As you can see, the bottom of this is flat, not like traditional round handguards. And this is because I do like to use a tripod when I'm out hunting. And this mounts directly to the tripod without the need of any other kind of mount to go on there. I do have a pig saddle that I use for my bolt actions, but being able to mount this directly to the tripod is very beneficial. I do have a bipod on here because I was sighting this in, and on the bench I do like to use a bipod. I also have a brass catcher on here. 6.5 Grendel is a little hard to come by right now with the ammo shortage. I do reload all of my own ammo, so it's important for me to be able to catch all of my brass. And when I'm in a tree stand, I don't want to, be worrying about, hey, where did my brass fly? Trying to find it when I get out of the stand or anything. So this catches all of my brass for me, so I'm not worried about that. And once again, like I said, primary arms scope on here. If you want more information on good budget scopes, go check out one of my other videos where I talk about the primary arms. Besides that, trigger is a CMC adjustable trigger, 45-degree safety on that, so kind of basic stuff. But the important thing for hunting, 20-inch barrel to maximize that velocity on here, but it's still handy out in the woods. It's still light enough to carry. And a long range scope to really, get out there to be able to see those animals at 300 to 400 yards. Now, if you're crunching the numbers and you're saying, hey, you know what, the 6.5 Grendel really isn't doing it for me. I think I need something that'll really reach out there and touch, you know, a deer, a pig, or whatever. If you're wanting to shoot past 400 yards or so, you might want to look at jumping up to an AR10 platform. Within the AR10, you have some real thumpers. You know, you have the 308, but you also have 338 Federal. You have the 375 Raptor, which is a Wildcat round. I have a 375 Raptor in bolt action, and it is an awesome, awesome round. You can load it subsonic or supersonic, and as far as energy downrange, if you're shooting 250 grains, you know, of copper at an animal, it's going down where it stands. The 308 also, I mean, hundreds, thousands of animals are taken with a 308 each year. Very, very popular round. If you go the AR10 route, there are some trade-offs. It is a heavy, heavy gun, especially when you start mounting permanent stock options. You have a full magazine in there. You know, it's a heavy, heavy option. And with my 308, I do have a Arkin EP5 5-25 scope on here. The scope itself weighs, you know, I think a couple of pounds or so. The barrel, this has an 18-inch barrel. With the 308, you can get away with a little bit shorter barrel. I went with an 18-inch just because it has a mid-length gas system versus a carbine length gas system. I don't really want to beat up my bolt too much. And also, because I am running a large scope on here, I did choose to go with a side charging upper. Now, the side charging upper is from Bear Creek Arsenal. The lower is from Aero Precision. Bear Creek Arsenal gets a lot of crap from people out there, people that like to run Gucci parts on their guns. Bear Creek Arsenal is very affordable. Some people call it cheap. I call it affordable because this runs just as good as any of my BCM uppers, any of my, you know, Aero spikes uppers that I have, a lot of things that I've built in the past. This runs just as reliably. Now, one thing that I did do on this is the actual bolt I replaced with a JP high pressure bolt because I do run this 308 suppressed, and it does have an Aero Precision barrel and a Aero Precision adjustable gas block. Currently, I have a Lambda VG6 muzzle brake on this, but I also have a Surefire brake that I put on there when I need to run my can on it. So if you need something that has a lot more energy than what fits in an AR15 platform, then you might want to look at building an AR10. But there are a lot of trade-offs that go with an AR10. Like I said, weight is a big thing. If you have to, you know, hike a couple of miles in, a couple of miles out of your hunting area, you know, this can be cumbersome, it can be heavy. It's not really as handy as an AR-15. So there are some big trade-offs to consider there when you're looking at going from an AR-15 to an AR-10 platform. And the biggest thing to remember is what it all comes down to. Whether you're shooting a 223, a 6.5 Grendel, a 308, a 375 Raptor, what it all comes down to is shot placement. If you have a 375 H&H Magnum and you have bad shot placement, you could still lose an animal versus, you know, having a 223 with perfect shot placement, you know, through the boiler room, hitting both lungs and blowing out the heart. You're going to retrieve that animal. So what I like to tell people is it really comes down to shot placement, knowing your ballistics, and knowing the limits of the round that you're hunting with. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Hunting season is coming up, and I know a lot of people are out there looking to hunt with their AR-15, and if you are one of those people that want to do it, I say definitely go for it, but do your homework and make sure your rifle is set up properly. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great hunting season.